Hello and welcome back to this series on positive transitions from the North Somerset Educational Psychology Service. In this video we're looking at the second of 3 stages of transition support, and this stage involves carrying out activities during transition periods between education settings, in particular during the term or perhaps 2 terms before a transition into primary school, secondary school or a post-16 setting. And so, over the next few minutes, we'll focus on 3 types of activities we can introduce to students of any age to help them have a positive experience of their transition. Firstly, activities which help students gain a positive first impression of their new school or college. Secondly, activities which help students create positive targets and goals for their next phase of education. And finally, activities which help students develop the resilience and tools to cope with the big change they are about to experience. So let's start with some examples of activities that help students develop positive associations with their new education setting. The most common example of this is to carry out visits to the new school or college. In particular, during these taster visits, we want to introduce students to new lessons at school or college, for example design and technology lessons, or photography, or food technology lessons, or new activities, for example lunchtime clubs or sports that were not available at the previous school, or new resources, for example sports pitches, ICT suites, Bunsen burners in science labs, art or technology workshops, music studios, or dance and drama halls. Some secondary schools and colleges will dedicate a whole week to transition or taster days, and there are examples of transition timetables on the Educational Psychology Service Resources Library. And finally, for students who we have identified as facing more challenges with the transition, we might want to arrange an additional visit after school so that they can view the site without other students around. Another important activity that contributes towards students making a positive first impression of a new setting involves meetings with staff. What's important here is that students get to meet with the staff that they will see regularly in their new setting, for example their class teacher in primary schools, or their subject or course leaders in college, or their head of year or head of pastoral support or tutor in secondary schools. Meetings with staff present an ideal opportunity for students to share the information they put together during the preparation stage of transition, for example the All About Me or the Strengths Shields. And if members of staff use these meetings to share information about themselves with students, they will be making themselves more relatable and approachable. So the next type of activity we can use to help students make a positive first impression are fact-finding or orientation type of activities. When we ask students to gather key facts about a new school or college, for example what colour the door of the first aid room is, or what the name of the school receptionist is, we're helping students feel confident and independent while also associating their new school or college with a sense of fun. And the final type of activity that can help the formation of positive first impressions is a video project for students due to enter a secondary school or post-16 setting. Asking students to work in groups to develop a multimedia tour of a new setting enables them to gather useful information about a school while also encouraging them to portray the setting in a positive light to the audience. The lesson plan for a video tour and accompanying brochure, along with examples of all the other activities mentioned here, can be found at the Educational Psychology Service Resources Library and Shared Drive, linked in the description under this video. In addition to activities which help students make a good first impression of their new school or college, we also want to help them create positive goals and things to look forward to by using target setting activities. And the first example of a target setting activity is the idea of creating a bucket list, which involves guiding students to create a personal list of activities they can't wait to try in a new school or college. We might also help students develop some specific SMART goals for their first term or year in a new setting. SMART goals can refer to any and all aspects of a new school experience, and they act as a great tool for celebrating future success against. A more creative and visual method for identifying targets around transition is known as a vision board, which involves creating collages of inspiring images and words relating to students' hopes and goals. And finally, we might consider an activity which involves students writing a letter to their future self and outlining what they hope to accomplish or take part in. And so, the third and final theme of transitional activities for students relates to building resilience. And there are 3 main aspects of building resilience specifically related to a transition, and we have a lesson plan related to each one. The lessons are designed for Year 6 students entering Year 7, but they could be easily adapted for Year 11 students preparing for Post-16. Firstly, we have a lesson related to sharing worries with our classmates from the Find Your Feet transition pack from Young Minds. This lesson is based on the idea that students can gain confidence from realizing that their feelings about change are shared by the majority of their peers. Next, we have a lesson plan which is related to specific coping strategies which help us deal with the experience of a big change, such as a transition between education settings. Students are asked to reflect on their worries about differences in a new school or college and match them to specific coping strategies. And finally, we can help young people build resilience by thinking about the strengths they carry into a new school or college, whether it's their sense of humour and ability to make friends, their determination, or their ability in a specific sport. The EPS Resources Library includes an example of a shorter 15-minute activity and a longer 60-minute lesson plan. The purpose of this lesson is to help students link their individual qualities to specific situations they will encounter in a new education setting. Don't forget that these 3 lesson plans and all the resources mentioned in this video are available from the Educational Psychology Service Resources Library, which you can find on the North Somerset Council website or via your preferred search engine. Thank you for watching this video. The final part in this series relates to the third key stage of a great transition, which is about how a positive transition is consolidated and maintained in the student's new school or college.